Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, for everywhere you're joining us from. Please kindly confirm that you can hear me loud and clear. Please kindly confirm that you can hear me loud and clear. Please kindly confirm in the chat section that you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please kindly
Yes, we can hear you.
confirm from the chat that you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. My network is not stable. All right, thank you. Yes, we are about to start very soon. Please, anywhere you come across the link, let us share for others to join us. It's another wonderful episode. So sorry for the inconvenience. It has always been 5 o'clock on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or once in 2 weeks. But this time around, we decided, due to some other reasons, other logistics, to put it at 3 o'clock. And we still have a handful of us here with us today. Thank you for being a part of this wonderful journey. Today, we are going to dissect and discuss about the ISO clauses. And I believe that by the end of today, you will be so much resourced. You will have been so much forward that you will definitely tell us that this has been impactful. We are about to start now. We are sharing the link across for everyone to join. Anyone who is finding it difficult to join us live on Zoom can decide to join us live on YouTube. Kindly share the link across. We are sharing the link across all groups. I'm sure that you might be in one or two groups where we are sharing the links now. Please kindly share the link across to everyone. Kindly share the link across to everyone. Kindly share the link across to everyone. We are going to drop the link here also. We are dropping the link here also. We're dropping the link here also. We are about to start today's wonderful enlightenment session. It's going to be powerful. It's a promise. It's going to be powerful. Let's see. Okay. Very soon we are going to kickstart formally. And due to issues with network and so, because by the time we start, we might not have the time to add people. So we are going to make a number of persons who we just a random number of persons. Engineer City Court, you are part of our co-admin for today. Please let us stay muted at all time. Mr. Babatunde, you are also part of our co-host for today. Julius Wambete, always here. You are also part of our co-host. Please, what you do for us, should you see anyone unmuted, you help us to mute such person. Mr. Abdelbasit, Engineer Sylvester, help us to mute such person. And also, you have the power to add others to join this session. You have the power for others to join this wonderful session. You have the power to admit others to join this wonderful session. Please let us share the link across to every nooks and crannies who are about to start now. Please let us stay muted. Please, if you know you can hear me now, please check your phone if you are not unmuted, because you can hear some background noise. Please let us stay muted. Please let us stay muted. Okay, Akim is here. Miss okay, Akim is here. Please, Mr. Akim, help us to share. We can see that somebody is still generating some noise. Adedoyin Odufua. Please stay muted. Please, and please, let's all stay muted. We are going to kickstart very soon. If you are finding it difficult to join, or anyone is finding it difficult to join, they can also join via YouTube. They can also watch live via YouTube. They can also watch via YouTube. You can also watch via YouTube. All right, we are about to kickstart now. We are about to start now. We are about to start now. If you are ready, please kindly type "I am ready" in the comment section. If you are ready, kindly type "ready" in the chat room. If you are ready, kindly type "ready" in the chat room. We are about to get it started. We are about to get it started. We want full engagement today. We want full engagement. We want full engagement. And we want everybody to be part of this. No one should be left behind. We want every single person to be part of this. No one should be left behind. It's going to be a wonderful section. It's going to be a wonderful section. Please, we are about to start now. All right. Yes, we are ready. Confirm that you can see my screen. Confirm that you can see my screen. Let us check every part of our engine. Let us check every part of the car. Let us know that the flight. Let us check every part of the plane. Let us know that we are ready to go. Everybody is on the same page. So today we are going to talk about, discuss fully, and we are going to make it as interactive as possible. You are not only here for you to just be present. You are also here for you to have impact. You are here for you to have impact. Today, we are talking about the similarities, we are talking about the differences between ISO 9001, ISO 14001, and 45001. When it comes to the clauses, we are trying to look at the clauses and we are trying to demystify this together. Let us all be on the same page. Let us all be on the same page. This is proudly brought to you by Caudal Safety Consult. In Caudal Safety Consult, we are into health and safety trainings. We are into bespoke trainings. We are into project supervision. We are into project HSE support. We are into site inspection. We are into procurement of PPEs. And we are into manpower supply, among many others. We are into helping organizations to meet up with the ISO 9001, 14001, and 5001 requirement. We are into site inspection and many other services. And we are bringing this to you at your doorstep. There is a very wonderful audit quote that I came across by Cathy Burleson. He said, given the risk of an expensive audit, paying strict attention to the rules is the only smart decision you can make. What are the rules? The rules are what guides ISO 9001. When it comes to ISO standard, the rules are the criteria of ISO 14001. The rules are the criteria for ISO 14001. When you talk about criteria, you're talking about what you are auditing against. If you are into auditing or you want to be involved in an audit, audit is not just looking at your system randomly against your own mindset or what you feel. It is looking at your system, your management system, against a particular system or against a particular audit criteria or against a particular established system or established criteria, where you are trying to look at how far you are going and if it meets up with the standard or if it meets up with the requirement of that particular management system or that particular system. Audit criteria can be anything. Audit is used generally. Audit can be financial audit. Audit can be business audit. Audit can be quality audit. It can be environmental audit. It can be health and safety audit. It can be food safety audit. Audit can be in any form. When you are trying to look at what you have in your organization and you are objectively trying to weigh it together with a particular standard or with a particular requirement, then you are talking about auditing. It's not only ISO audit that we have. Even when you talk about legal requirement, when you talk about the Factories Act, for example, or the Workplace Compensation Act, Workers' Compensation Act, when you have it as an act, or you have the Aviation Act, or you have the NIMASA Act, whatever act that you have, and you are looking at your system, you are trying to look at the criteria to meet up with that particular act, with that particular system, with that particular legal requirement, and you are objectively weighing it together, weighing it side by side with your management system from the beginning till the end. That is what we call auditing. When we're talking about auditing, this quote says, given the risk of an expensive audit, you need to pay attention to the rules. You need to pay attention to what makes ISO 9001 to be ISO 9001. You need to pay attention to what makes ISO 14001 to be 14001. You need to place close attention to what makes ISO 14001 to be ISO 14001, and that is the audit criteria. When you have a management system, you are trying to weigh it alongside, you are trying to scrutinize it. It's a systemic evaluation of your performance, systemic evaluation of how your organization meet up with a particular criteria based on what you want to audit, based on the scope of your audit. That's what we call scope. As we go on, we will continue to enlighten us about this, but this is the beginning. There is need to pay strict attention to the rules. That is the only smart decision you can ever make when it comes to auditing. And we are about to start this wonderful journey. Let's make sure that we are ready to move. Tighten your seatbelt. Ensure that you are safe wherever you are. Every information that you need, you can put it in the comment section. We shall go through them as we move on on this section. Do not try. You can ask questions, but ensure that you are muted unless you are being unmuted to ask a question. Let us all be on the same page as we're about to move on this wonderful journey. Now, like I was saying, when it comes to management system, when it comes to auditing comes, when it comes to management system comes in various folds. Yes, we are live. Management system comes in various folds. Quality management system is one. Environmental management system is one. Safety management system is one. Energy management system is one. All these food safety management system is one. All these are what we call management systems. You can use any criteria, any established standard to have a management system. In this case, we are focusing on ISO. ISO is International Organization for Certification. International Organization for Certification is an established standard. It is not only ISO standard that you can use. There are a lot of standards. There are a lot of established criteria for auditing to ensure that you have a good management system. When it comes to quality management system, for example, apart from ISO 9001, we have other systems such as you'll have heard of lean management. You might have heard of Six Sigma. There are many approaches to ensure that you meet up with the requirement. But on this particular part, one of the most recognized ones is the ISO standard, because ISO has so many standards. ISO has so many standards that you can make use of. And what makes them beautiful is the fact that it can be integrated. That is why we are talking about integrating 9001, 14001, 45001. Any of those standards can be integrated because they have similar clauses. They have what makes them to be together. And that is what we'll be dissecting today. And that is what we'll be discussing today. We have information security management system. You have compliance management system. You have food safety management system. All these can be integrated together. You can pick two. When you pick two, or you pick three, or you pick four, or you choose five, and you want to integrate them together to be a single system, what we have done is integrated management system. Integrated management system is not only limited to 9001, 14001, and 5001. You can integrate 9001 and 22,001. You can integrate 14,001. That is a food safety. You can integrate 14,001 and 50,001. That is environmental and energy management system. Whatever you want to audit, you are trying to ensure that you meet up with the particular requirement. You meet up with their audit criteria. Audit criteria are in various forms. 9001 standard is an audit criteria. 14,001 standard is an audit criteria. 5001 standard is an audit criteria. Legal Factories Act is an audit criteria. Workers' Compensation Act is an audit criteria. NIMASA Act is an audit criteria. In the oil and gas sector, you have various regulations. All these regulations, they are audit criteria. Even a company, an organization can decide to have their own management system, and it will be their audit criteria to improve on themselves. You can have best practice in the various industries. For example, in the Nigeria Institute of Safety Engineers, we have new codes. What's it called? Codes of conduct of construction in the construction industry. So in that case, you can have you can decide to audit your system against the requirement of NICTE construction industry codes of conduct. That is also an audit criteria. Audit criteria can be anything at all. Have this at the back of your mind, that audit is not only limited to ISOs. There are other management systems, other criteria that you can audit against. But on this focus, what we are doing now is we are auditing, we are looking at the requirement, we are looking at the clauses of ISO 9001, 14,001, and 45,001. Like we said, audit comes in various ISO standards are unlimited. We have thousands of ISO standards that organizations conform to based on the requirement, and these are being brought together. We don't want to go into that. They have been established by ISO and are being used by those that we call IAF. In the last section, we talk about IAF, that is International Audit for International Accreditation Forums, a forum of all accredited bodies. We discussed about that in last week. For those that were not here, you can go to YouTube to watch the video. So today we are trying to streamline our discussion to three specific ISOs, because they are the three most common ISOs. ISO 9001. ISO 9001 is Quality Management System. Quality Management System. I want somebody to write Quality Management System in the chat box. ISO 9001 is Quality Management System. We want somebody to write Quality Management System in the chat box. We want us to be on the same page. We want us to flow together. I want somebody to write Quality Management System in the chat box. Nobody is responding. We want somebody to write Quality Management System in the chat box. Quality Management System. ISO 9001 is Quality Management System. ISO 9001 2015 is Quality Management System. ISO 14001 is Environmental Management System. Environmental Management System. We want somebody to write Environmental Management System. Environmental Management System. ISO 14001. I know these are the basics. These are the basics that most of us we know already. ISO 14001 is Environmental Management System. ISO 45001 is Occupational Health and Safety Management System. Is Occupational Health and Safety Management System. ISO 45001 is Occupational Health and Safety Management System. That will be our focus, the three focus for today. All these ISO standards, they have a lot of benefits. It is not a mandate, it is not a legal requirement, at least in most countries. It is not a legal requirement for you to say that you must conform to ISO 9001, that you must conform to 14001, or that you must conform to 5001, but it has benefits. Most companies do it for many reasons, and part of the reasons is that it helps. We are not only talking about the benefits of each of the standard. We're talking about the benefit of integrating them together. What are the benefits of each of the standard? When you either implement 9001, or you implement 14001, or you implement 5001, what are the benefits? And when you decide to have an integrated management system, to integrate your system together, what are the benefits? When you integrate together, it helps you to lower cost of certification, because there are so many clauses that are similar in each standard. There are so many clauses that are similar. That is in 9001, it's in 14001, and it's in 45001, and you have separate documentations for them. You have separate processes for them. Meanwhile, you can integrate them together and make them a single unit. That is what makes them integrated. So it helps you to lower costs of certification by reducing that duplication, duplicating what you've done for 9001, for 14001, for 45001. It helps you to reduce that effort. You can integrate them together. Fewer interruptions to your organizations. It makes your process smooth. It reduces interruptions because you have a single system that addresses multiple management systems. That is why we call it integrated management system. Reduced documentation because of the fact that you have your 9001, you have the 14001 and 5001, and they have a lot of similar clauses, which we are going to discuss today and will be the major part of our discussion today. You will see that by the time you integrate them together, there will be reduction in so many documentations because you have integrated them. Streamlined processes. Your process will be streamlined. Everything will be on the same page. Everyone knows what he's doing because the system is you have a management system that addresses the old clauses. We'll still talk about the old clauses, starting from context of the organization to continual improvement. We'll talk about those processes when we're talking about the process approach, the PDCA approach. So it helps to streamline your process and make it uniform. there is a consistency in your objectives, because everything is being done together, because everything is on the same page. There is this element of consistency across your management system. There is no when there will be issues of conflict of interest, it be easily identified and the solution will be easily solved. Why? Because everything is integrated. So if in a particular clause, there can be a kind of conflict of interest with another particular clause, because you have it integrated, you will be able to identify them easily and put appropriate solutions to them. Help your organization. It helps you to meet up with regular requirements. When you meet up with any of these standards, when you meet up with any of the ISO standard, let's say ISO 9001, it will help your organization, and you are able to meet up, and you're able to have a successful third-party audit, and they certify you for any of the ISOs. It means that you can meet up with the legal requirement, because part of ISO standard under clause 4 talks about the context of the organization and understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. Part of the interested parties are the regulatory bodies, the national regulatory bodies, the state regulatory bodies, because that particular clause, I think clause 4.2, addresses the needs and expectation of interested parties, and part of the interested parties are the regulatory bodies. So it will help you in meeting up with that requirement, and some other part of the clause too that will support you in meeting up with that particular requirement. So when you are able to meet up with the requirement of ISO 9001, be rest assured that there will be no legal implication, because you will have met up with the requirement of the regulatory body that is applicable to you. And that is why we talk about scope of your management system. The scope of your management system will help you to know which area is applicable to you. For example, if you are working in the oil and gas industry, based on the context of the organization and based on the interested parties, you will know that in the oil and gas industry, you have DPR regulations, you have some middle stream, upstream, downstream regulations, and some other regulations that apply to you. Someone who is doing construction, who is into construction, and is working in the manufacturing might not have anything to do with the oil and gas, unless if he's going to do construction in the oil and gas. That is when it will now be applicable to him. So based on the scope of your management system, we help you to determine what is applicable to you, and you'll be able to look at the various requirements that is applicable to them. Then it helps to increase the reputation of the organization. If you look at all these benefits, you'll see that there are a whole lot of benefits: increase in productivity, increase in customers' retention. You'll be globally recognized when you have each of these standards. Even as a professional, when you undergo training on ISO auditing, lead auditing or lead implementer or internal audit, maybe for ISO 9001 or any of them, and you are able to go through the training rigorously, and you know what, and you have the deep understanding, and you have the certification that you are a lead auditor, you are a trained lead auditor. Remember, auditing is not what you just wake up and say, I have a certificate, I'm a lead auditor. You need to undergo practical training also. So no matter where you get your training from, it doesn't matter. What matters most is how you have been able to practically deliver that, yes, I'm a lead auditor, and I can practically show you that I'm a lead auditor. There are a lot of things that has to do with certification. So certification might be applicable in some countries, and it will be applicable in some countries. Let me give you an example, like we said in the last class. IACA, for example, was established in UK. PDCA, for example, was established in Canada. They are all into ISO certification, both of them. But it will surprise you, or it shouldn't surprise you, when you take your certificate for your IACA certificate and you go to Canada and they tell you that no, you have to do PECB. Or when you go to PECB and they tell you, and when you go to UK and you're taking your PECB certificate and they tell you that no, you have to do IACA. So it's not about where you get the certification, it's about getting the required training and ensuring that you have practical understanding and you progress alongside as you go on in your profession. There are so many benefits of ISO standard. It helps to improve organization's image and credibility. You see many organizations in their product, they will write it there, ISO 9001 certified, ISO 4001 certified, because they know that, yes, it is a sign that they have a good management system that addresses risk and opportunities, and they have an opportunity to also improve on their system, which they do always. If you look at part of the benefit, you will see that it shows that you are a focused organization. It makes people to know that, yeah, this organization knows what it's doing. It provides continuous access and improvement. It helps you to improve on your system, because under clause 10, when you're talking about continuous improvement, it is part of what makes you, what helps the organization in improving on their system. So there are a whole lot of benefits of getting certified as an organization and also integrating them together as an organization when we're talking about the integrated management system. Still talking about the integrated management system, as you can see on your screen here, we have talking solely about 9001, 14001, and 5001. It solved the problem of potential redundancy in basic structure for organization wanting to install multiple standards. When you have it integrated, it helps you to reduce redundancy. It solves the problem of redundancy in having a structure that helps to address multiple systems using a single integrated management system. And that is what we are going to talk about today. And this is where we have most of the work. If you can see, if you are with me, kindly type yes, yes, yes in the comment section as we go into further details about this particular discussion today. If you can see my screen, kindly type yes, yes, yes. If you are with me, kindly type yes, yes in the chat room. Let us see the yes flowing in the chat room. Let us see the yes flowing in the chat room if you are with me. Yes, yes, yes. So when you look at what we want us to do today, we want us to have an understanding of the basics, at least the front part and the second part. What do I mean? The clause 4, the clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, and 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, like that, when till it gets to the 3 clauses. Let us try and have an understanding. Nobody, I'm repeating it, nobody will tell you to go and cram all the ISO standards. Nobody will tell you to cram ISO 9001. As an auditor, you will have the ISO standard with you everywhere you go. But notwithstanding, there's still room for us to at least have a basic way to recognize where some particular clauses are. That is what makes us professionals. We are not talking about cramming now, but understanding how it is being structured, understanding how it can be easily identified for us to be able to know where a particular item is, so that when they are talking about operation, you know the clause they are talking about. When they are talking about roles and responsibilities, you know where they are talking about. When they are talking about planning, you know where they are talking about. So we are trying to look at the clauses that are similar, and we are trying to look at the clauses that are different with regards to ISO 9001, with regards to 14001, with regards to 45001. That is where our focus is for today. That is where we are focusing on today. If you look at it, you will see that we have the one of ISO 9001. Then if you look further, the next slide, you have 14001. If you look at the next slide, you have 14001. All of them has this list of management system, the scope, the normative reference, that is clause 2, the terms and definitions, that is clause 3, the context of the organization, that is clause 4. So from clause 4 to clause 10 are the major clauses that we are going to address. Clause 1, clause 2, clause 3 are just the initial part of the document that talks about the various definitions, normative reference, and the scope of the management system and scope of the management standard. So don't be confused. Where we are focusing on is clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10. And when you look at it, to make it easier for us, there's an approach we are going to use. It is called the PDCA cycle. It is called the PDCA cycle. Can somebody type PDCA in the chat room? Can somebody type PDCA in the chat room? I want somebody to type PDCA, the PDCA cycle. I want somebody to type the PDCA cycle. I want somebody to type the PDCA cycle in the chat room. So the PDCA is a plan, the do, the check. The plan, the do, the check, the act. Plan, do, check, act. So we are trying to use that approach for us to understand what we are talking about today. We are trying to use that approach to understand what we are talking about today. We are trying to use that approach to understand how we can understand the system. So the first part is the plan, the planning. Now you're talking about your management system as a whole, from the beginning to the end. We are looking at the area of planning. We are looking at the area of do. We are looking at the area of check. We are looking at the area of acts. So I have this particular approach that I use that I want us to follow up with. When you have an organization, when you want to start an organization, or let's say when you are going to an organization, the first thing that comes to your mind is, what do they do? What do they do? What is this company about? What is it that they do? What do they do? That is the first thing that comes to your mind. If you hear about a particular company, the first thing that comes to your mind is, what is this company about? When you go there physically, the first thing that you see is the building. The first thing that you see is that building. What is it about? The first thing that you see is the factory. And that is where we first talk about the context of the organization. The context of the organization. Context of the organization. That is where clause 4 comes into play. If you look at it from the beginning, if you look at ISO 9001, you see that clause 4 is context of the organization. Clause 5 is leadership. Clause 6 is planning. Clause 7 is support. Clause 8 is operation. Clause 9 is performance evaluation. Clause 10 is improvement. If you look at ISO 14001, you will see that clause 4 is context of the organization. Clause 5 is leadership. Clause 6 is planning. Clause 7 is support. Clause 8 is operation. Clause 9 is performance evaluation. Clause 10 is improvement. If you look at 5001, clause 4 is context of the organization. Clause 5 is leadership and worker participation. Clause 6 is planning. Clause 7 is support. Clause 8 is operation. Clause 9 is performance evaluation. Clause 10 is improvement. You will see that they have the same clauses. Clause 4 in 9001 is clause 4 in 14001. Is clause 4 in 14001. Clause 6 is the same thing across the 3 ISOs. Clause 7 is same thing. Clause 8 is the same thing. Clause 9 is the same thing. Clause 10 is the same thing. Clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10. They are the same. And that is where we start from. Now let's look at it one after the other. How do we understand? We are talking about the plan now. We said we want to use the PDCA approach. The PDCA approach is a process approach. The plan, the do, the check, the act. The plan, the do, the check, the act. Planning starts from understanding what the organization is about. Like I said, I want us to be able to understand this so that when we get across to them, we'll be able to identify them. So starting from clause 4, what do they do? Then the first thing that comes to our mind is the context of the organization. So that's why clause 4 talks about the context of the organization. It is still at the planning stage. Context of the organization. Then from there, clause 5 now talks about leadership. After you are able to understand the context of the organization, the next thing that come to your mind is, who are those that are behind this company? Who are those that are behind this company? Who are those that are running this organization? That is where leadership comes in. That is where leadership comes in. Can somebody type leadership in the comment section? Clause 5 is leadership. That is where leadership comes into play. Can somebody type leadership? Leadership comes after context of the organization. Leadership comes next from leadership. Then after you now know as an individual who is in an organization, it is without those that will get every other thing done. it is not possible to have a plan. Because who are those that we plan? Who are those that we plan? They are the human being. Who are those that we plan? They are the workers. Who are those that we plan? They are the management. That is why leadership comes first before planning. That is why leadership comes first before planning. So after leadership, the next thing that we have is planning. The next thing that we have after leadership is planning. The next thing that we have after leadership is planning. So you can see how it goes. You can see how it goes, planning. So the first thing is context of the organization, knowing what the company is all about. We'll still go into the subclauses, but knowing what the company is all about, that is the context of the organization. Then from the context of the organization, the next thing you are looking out for is the leadership. Who are those that are in this organization? Who are those that are in this organization? Then before we now start talking about planning, that is the first 3 clauses that is in plan. According to the Plan, Do, Check, Act. According to the Plan, Do, Check, Act. So for planning, we have context of the organization as clause 4. We have planning. We have leadership as clause 5. We have planning as clause 6. Those are the first 3 parts. Those are the first 3 parts when it comes to the PDCA cycle. That is the planning phase. The plan. Context of the organization is clause 4. Leadership is clause 5. Then planning is clause 6. But when you plan, before you start doing what you plan, you will need some things to help you to do what you planned. You need some things to help you to do what you plan. You can't just start operation after planning. You will need so many things. You will need so many things to help you to carry out your operations. And that is why support comes first before operation. Support will always come first because you need these resources. You need the support first. You need the human resources first. You need the materials first. You need the equipment first. You need the process of operation first before you now start operating. And that is why support is clause 7. Can somebody say clause 7 is support? I want that to be written in the chat box. Clause 7 is support. Clause 7 is support. Clause 7 is support. Before you cannot have your operation without having your support comes first. Clause 7 is support. You must never be tired of typing because by writing, by typing, you get to understand better. It is not just about being present online. It's about being engaged. The 1 hour, the 2 hours we want to spend must be resourceful, must be beneficial to us. Clause 7 is support. That is where support comes before you now have operation. You can see that support and operation, they are the do. Support and operation, they are the do. Support and operations are the do, because the first thing that you do is to plan. And when you are planning, you first look at the organization. What is it about? The context of the organization. Then after that, what do you do next? You look at the leadership. Who are those that are behind this organization? Then the next thing is now to plan, because you can't plan without having those that will plan for you. That is why the leadership comes first before planning. Then after planning, you can't start operation. That is why support will come first before operation. So clause 7 is support, while clause 8 now talks about the operation itself. Clause 8 now talks about the main do, the operation itself. Clause 8 talks about the operation. From there, after the operation, then we now look at what are we doing. Remember that we talk about the plan, the do, the check, and the act. The plan, the do, the check, and the act. So after doing, you are now trying to look at if what you plan to do is what you are doing. If what you plan to do is what you are doing, because in operations, you are doing everything that you planned. Now you're now trying to look at if what you plan to do is what you are doing. And that is why performance evaluation comes into play. That is where clause 9 talks about performance evaluation. Clause 9 talks about performance evaluation. Check of the process approach has only performance evaluation. It has only performance evaluation. After performance evaluation, you won't see another thing in check. Plan, do, check. Your check has performance evaluation. Your check has performance evaluation. Then from your check, then the last thing that you now do is when you have objectively look at what you are planning, if the same thing as what you are doing, then how do you improve? Even if it's the same thing, it means that you are at your best. Then how do you get better? How do you continue to get better? How do you improve? Because if you don't improve, trust me, you start coming down. It is a law, because everything that goes up, that stop going up, that you want to feel relaxed, that I'm good, you start seeing your system going down. You start seeing your proactive approach becoming reactive approach. That is why improvement is very important, and that is why it comes at the last clause, as clause 10. Clause 10 is improvement. Clause 10 is improvement. So from the plan, you will see in your plan, you have the context of the organization. You have, then after your context, you are not talking about the leadership, because it is the leadership that will now start talking about planning, that will now start planning. Then after planning, you don't just jump to operations. You talk about support that you need to carry out your operations. Then after that, clause 8 talks about operations. Then clause 9 now talks about the performance evaluation, because that is the only thing that you see in check. Then clause 10 talks about improvement. And this is what you also find when you look at ISO 9001. This is what you also find when you look at ISO 14001. This is what you also find when you look at ISO 4001, except from one difference that we'll talk about later. But this is the majority of what you find. So I want us to look at it together. I want us to now look at it together. Don't Google. Do not use Google. For those that have been following, what comes first as clause 4? What is the first thing that comes first as clause 4? To look out for in an organization. I want you to please let us chat, put it in the chat box. Let us put it in the chat box. What is the first thing that comes first? What is the first thing that comes first in what comes first? Who is talking? Someone said it now on my phone, in my ears. Context of the organization will come first, and that is clause 4, because we said clause 1, clause 2, clause 3 are not a major of what you audit. What you start auditing starts from clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10. So after understanding the context of the organization, then what comes in first? What comes in next after context of the organization? I want somebody to rush me with those answers. Leadership. Yes, I can see leadership flowing in the chat room. We have 30 persons on the call, and I know that is because of the time that we placed it today, because we put it at 3 p.m. Leadership and workers' participation, that is specifically for ISO 5001. Leadership, simply leadership. And it will tell us why we have it as leadership and workers' participation when it comes to ISO 45001. But in the two clauses, it is leadership. Then after that, after the leadership, now you have a leadership. Then the next thing will now be what? What comes next as clause 6? Planning. Thank you so much. I can see the planning going. Then after having your planning, after you've planned before, then the next one that comes in is support. Please, Mr. Prosper and Mr. Lawrence, don't start the answers again. Don't start the answers again. Let others to respond so that everybody will be on the same page. We all want to ensure that everybody is here together. So thank you so much for your swift response. It shows that you are on top of the game. So after your support, you already had your support. What are you using those support for? The next one that comes as clause, that is, thank you, Mr. Steven. That is the next one that comes after support is operation. Yes, beautiful. Then that is operation. Then the next one that comes after operations, now I want to look at how are you improving? What you are doing is the same thing as what you plan to do. Then that comes as the next clause. And that is what, who can tell me what that is? After your operations, what do you have? After your operations, what do you have? Who can tell me after your operations, what do you have? Performance evaluation. Performance evaluation. You are evaluating your performance to see if what you plan is what you are doing. Then after your performance evaluation, what is the last thing? What is the last thing that everybody must continuously do in your life? You improve. Improvement. You must not stop improving. You must not stop to improve. That is why improvement comes at the last. So from there, how many clauses does plan have? Planning has how many clauses? Do not use Google. If you don't understand, if you don't have the answer, just wait for the response. How many clauses does planning have? The plan. Mr. Prosper is asking me, is it 4? Is it 4? I do not know. That is why I'm asking. At least for now, I do not know. How many clauses does plan has? Remember, we have the plan, we have the do, we have the check, we have the act. We have clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10. That is 7. So now look at it together. We've already talked about the context. We talk about leadership. We talk about planning. We talk about support. We talk about operations. We talk about performance evaluation, and we talk about improvement. So how many clauses do we now have in planning? When we are planning, we told us if at the planning phase, the first thing that you do is to look at the context of the organization. It's form part of your planning phase. When you want to get to another organization, the first thing you do is to look at it. What are they into? What do they do? The planning, understanding the context of the organization. Then the next one is the leadership. What is the leadership about? Who are those that are behind this organization? But the first thing that you first see in an organization is what is the context. It is what they are into. That's what you ask yourself. What do they even do here? Then the next thing, who are those running this company? Then the next thing is now planning. So we have 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6. That is beautiful. Then under do, how many clauses do we have? How many clauses do we have under do? How many clauses do we have under do? We have 2 clauses. What are they? What are the 2 clauses? Mr. Kichuku, thank you for your response. What are the 2 clauses? Clause 7 and clause 8. What is their name? What is clause 7 called? What is clause 7 called? What is clause 7 called? Support. What is clause 8 called? Operations. Yes, support and operations. I want that fingers to be running faster. I want those fingers to be running faster, except from those that are very consistent, that are already guru in this group. We want everybody to follow up and ensure that we are on the same page. Then after that, after plan, after do, we have check. Under check, what clause do we have and what is the name of that clause? Under check, after do, we have check. Under check, what do we have? What do we have? And what is the name? What do we have under check? Clause 9, performance evaluation. Mr. Ikechukwu, my next question, do not respond. Mr. Ikechukwu, my next question, do not respond. Under clause 9, we have performance evaluation. You can respond. Under clause 9, performance evaluation, we have the last one that talks about act. So clause 10 talks about what? I want someone to talk about clause 10. What is in clause 10? Clause 10, we have 30 people on this group, and only like 4 or 5 people are responding. It means that is less than, if I am doing my calculation well, it means that is less than 30, that is less than 20% improvement. Clause 10 is improvement. Clause 10 is improvement. So clause 1, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10. We are talking about support. Which of the PDA cycle is support? Which of the PDCA cycle is support? Which of the PDCA cycle is support? Which of the PDA cycle is support? Mr. Ikechukwu, don't answer again. Mr. Ikechukwu, I will arrest you. Which of the PDA cycle is support? The PDCA cycle that is support. Which of the PDCA cycle is support? It is do. it is do, because you can't just do. You can't have any support. Even when you want to do the do, you still need some support to do the do as a man or as a woman. So you need support. That is why clause 7 comes first. Clause 7 will always come first. Support before clause 8, which now talks about operations. So clause 7 and clause 8, they are 7 and 8, they are together as they do. They are together as they do. Then we now have our leadership. Leadership is under where? It's under which of the process approach? Which of the PDCA cycle is leadership? Which of the PDCA cycle is leadership? Which of the PDCA cycle is leadership? Who can tell me the answer apart from Mr. Ikechukwu? Which of the PDCA cycle is plan? Thank you. Plan. Thank you. Let it flow. Plan. Even if you are just coming and you've already written plan, you to write your own plan. So we have the PDCA cycle. We have the PDCA cycle. Then you will see that clause 4, clause 5, clause 6 is about planning under 9001. The same thing into 4001. The same thing to 45001. Your do, support and operation. Support and operation. Support and operation. This is also part of your clauses, part of your do, support and operation. Then performance evaluation is your check. Performance evaluation is your check. While your act is your improvement. Your act is your improvement. Your act is your improvement. Who is laughing? Mr. Prosper is laughing. I don't want to, let me assume that I don't know what you are laughing about. But this is how we have understood the clauses. If you have gotten this part from clause 6, clause 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, using the PDCA approach, please kindly type fire on in the chat box. I want to see fire on in the chat box. If you want us to move forward, I want to see fire on in the chat box. I want to see fire on in the chat box. Only 2 persons want us to fire on. Okay, I can see 5 fire on. Only 5 persons. Carry go. That is another word for fire on. Thank you. So let us keep moving. Let us continue to move. Now let us go. Now we finished the first part of it. Now let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Can somebody say deeper? Can somebody say deeper in the chat box? Can somebody say deeper? Let's go deeper. We want to go deeper now. The only deeper that I know is going deeper into the ISO clauses. I don't know of any other deeper. So now let us go deeper. As per ISO 9001, if you look at it, you will see that there are 4 subclauses. You see that there are four subclauses in ISO 9001. There are 4 subclauses. If you look at for 14,001, there are also 4 subclauses. If you look at 4,001, you see that there are also 4 subclauses, meaning that the 3 of them can easily be understood. So any system that we apply for 9,001 will be the same for 14,001. Will be the same for 45,001. You can see, and before I even go forward, let me even say this ahead so that we will see it later when we continue. It's not only clause 4. It's not only clause 4 that has similar subclauses. It's not only clause 4 that has similar subclauses. I will give you this trick. Those that have similar subclauses, 479. I call them clause 479. Instead of calling them 419, I call them clause 479. Clause 4 has the same subclauses. Clause 7 has the same subclauses. Clause 9 has the same subclauses. That is why I call them clause 479. Clause 479. So instead of 419, that 7 will have looked like 1. You know, when you take that dash that is on top away, it will now turn to 419, but it is clause 479. Can somebody write 479 in the chat box? Write it as much as you can. That I, Waliu Adegoke, said clause 479 for ISO 9001, for 14,001, for 5,001, that they are similar. I said so. For those 3 clauses, 479, write it 479, they are similar. and we'll talk about it later. Have it at the back of your mind. Clause 479, they are similar. Clause 479, they are similar. I have only 4 points that I've written this. This is very important. It makes you understand this aspect of integration easily. Clause 479, only 4 persons have written this. Hope I'm not taken away from. I hope I've not been taken away by the network, because network is very funny. Clause 479. Just write clause 479. Write 479. Now let's look at clause 4. Let's start with the context of the organization. When after you've understood that, okay, clause 4 talks about the context of the organization, and all of us have understood this, we have created a system for us to be able to know all the clauses from 4 to 10. Now, clause 4.1 now talks about the first thing you look out for under context of the organization is to understand the organization and its context, because it is still the same thing that we are talking about. Understand the organization and its context. Understand the organization and its context. Our co-admin should please help us to mute anyone that is unmuted. It happens, and it can happen due to any reason. My network is shaking. Is it clearer now, Mr. Ikechukwu? Is my voice clearer now, Mr. Ikechukwu? Let me know if my voice is clearer now. Mr. Ikechukwu, is my voice clearer now? It is not. I think my network is getting bad here. Is it getting clearer now? Oh, the Lord. Okay, I'm still here. I thought I've gone. Is it clear? Is it getting clearer now? Is my voice getting clearer now? Okay, thank you. I thought I was gone already. I said, oh, the Lord. So now let's look at it. The first thing that you do is to understand the organization and its context. That is 4.1. Understanding the organization and its context. 4.1, because clause 4 talks about context of the organization. So the first thing you look out for is to look at the organization, understanding the organization and its context. What is the context of the organization? So many things comes on under context. What is the organization into? What do they do? Where do they operate? All these things, you can't compare an oil and gas organization, an oil and gas company, to a manufacturing company. You can't compare a manufacturing company to a bank, to a bank. You can't compare a bank to a supply organization. You can't compare a supply organization to a logistic organization. They all can get certified with ISO 9001. They all can get certified to ISO 14001, but they are different. They are different in terms of what they do. There are so many things that makes you different. The size of the organization, what you are into, your operations, so many things makes you to be different. So you need to understand the organization and its context. That is why it comes as 4.1. 4.1. Then after understanding the organization and its context, then what next do you do? The next thing that you do is to understand the needs and expectations of the interested parties. Every organization has interested parties. They can be, your interested parties can be internal or external. Your interested parties, like external, can be regulatory bodies. Your interested parties, like internal, can be your workforce, your employees, your clients, the people that work with you, your visitors. They are your interested parties. Your interested parties, when it comes to external, can be the regulatory bodies. It can be the community. The community have interest in what you are doing, because when you talk about interested parties, those that can be affected by your operations, or those that their decisions can affect your organization, the government body, the government as a whole can affect your organization. That is why for external, we used to apply, we can either use SWOT analysis, or we use PEST 2, talking about political, economical, social, technological, legal, or environmental. You can use PES 2 to understand your external parties, your external interested parties. Internally, you can know who are those that are interested in your operations, who are those that can be affected by what you do. The community can be affected. So they are interested parties. Your organization must understand the needs and expectations of the interested parties. That is why it comes after understanding the context. Because if you don't understand the context, you can't understand who are your interested parties. If you are in oil and gas and you know that these are contexts, or if you are into scaffolding, or if you are into logistics, you already know your context. From your context, you'll be able to know those that are interested. So you can have understanding needs and expectation of interested parties as plus 4.1 before you now have understanding the organization and its context in 4.2. It's not possible. The first thing that you do under clause 4 is to understand the organization and its context. That is why it comes as 4.1. And the next thing that you do is to understand the needs and expectation of interested parties. That is why it comes in as 4.2. Then the next one, after you've understood these two, after this has been understood, that will now help you to determine the scope of your management system, either quality management system, either environmental management system, or either operational health and safety management system. For example, if you are into food, if you are into food processing, or if you are into FMCG, you should know your context. Your context is FMCG. You are into food production, food processing. Then who are your interested parties externally? An example of an interested parties externally is NAFDAC. NAFDAC would be interested parties externally. Externally, you need to build Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. They are interested parties. Depending on what you are, the standard that you are talking about. Then from there, you'll be able to know the scope of where you belong, the scope of your management system. It is from these two that you'll be able to determine the scope of your management system. That is why you have 4.3 as the scope of the management system. If those two does not come earlier, you won't understand the scope of the management system. Then from 4.3, then the last one but not the least, now talks about 4.4. That is your environmental management system. After you now understand the scope of what you are doing, the scope of your management system, what you be addressing in your management system will be different. What a logistic company will be addressing in its quality management system will be different from what a food company will be addressing in its management system. That is why you need to understand the scope, the boundaries of your operations. That is why that one comes first. After you have understood the context, after you understood the organization and its context, and after you've understood the needs and expectations of the interested parties, then from there, you will now talk about the scope of the management system. Then lastly, you now develop your what? Environmental management system. Now, if you look at this, if you look at quality management system, it also have 4.1 to be what? Understanding the organization and its context. If you look at 14,001, it also has what? As 4.1, understanding the context, the organization and its context. If you look at 14,001, it also has what? Understanding the organization and its context. If you look at 4.2, it also has the same thing, needs and expectation. If you look at 4.2 of 14,001, needs and expectation. If you look at 4.2 in 5,001, it also has what? Needs and expectation. If you look at 4.3, it has determined the scope of the environmental management system, because 14,001 talks about what? Environmental management system. If you look at 9,001, it talks about what? Scope of QMS, quality management system, because 9,001 is talking about what? Quality management system. And then if you look at 14,001, it talks about the scope of the what? Operational health and safety management system. That is 4.3. Then the last one, 4.4, now addresses the management system itself. If you look at it, 4.4 for environmental, talks about environmental management system. If you look at 4.4 for 4.4 for 9,001, it talks about what? Quality management system. It tells you that clause 4 for these three standards, they are the same. Clause 4 for these three standards are the same. So why will you disturb yourself when you can, and you want to integrate, you want to have ISO 9001, 14,001, and 4001, for example, instead of having separate documents, because they have the same clauses, they have similar clauses. The only difference is what each of them is applied to. You'll be able to integrate it and make your job much more easier. That is about clause 4. Clause 4 has 4 subclauses: 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4. What is the first thing that you look out for in your clause? What do you have in your context of the organization? Context of the organization. The first thing that you look out for is to what? To understand who can complete it. To understand what is the first thing that will come first as 4.1. What is the first thing that will come as 4.1? Who is following me? Understanding the organization and its context. Who use Koto? I don't understand the Koto. Koto. Is that a way to abbreviate it? Mr. Prosper. I'm seeing Koto. Koto. Maybe that is maybe the one the Koto. Okay. Now, understanding the organization and its context, that is the first thing. Then after that, after understanding the organization and its context, the next one is to do what? To understand, who will tell me what the next thing is? To understand the needs and expectation of what? Of your interested parties. Understanding the needs and expectation of interested parties, that is 4.2. Then the next one now talks about, who will tell me what the next one is about? After that, what is the next one? The next one, the third one, I want somebody to mention the third one for me. Determining the scope of the management system. Determining the scope of the management system. Determining the scope of either environmental, quality, or health and safety. So determining the scope of the management system, we should not mix it together. It is 4.4 that is now the management system. 4.4 is now environmental management system, or quality management system, or whatever management system you are talking about. So 4.3 is for you to understand the scope. When you now understand the scope, you now talk about 4.4, where you will now have your management system in place. Now we are through with 4. We are through with clause 4. We are through with clause 4. 4. Now let's go to clause 5. If you want us to go to clause 5, please type yes in the chat box. If you want us to go to clause 5, type yes in the chat box. If you want us to go to clause 5, Maoga Temitope Mudele, Maoga, you are here. Thank you so much for coming. That is our chairman, IOSH West Africa. Thank you so much for motivating us. Seeing you is a motivation. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, now let's go to the next one. It shows that I'm not the only one here. Now, you will see that clause 9 and clause, if you see that ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 and ISO 5001, they're supposed to have the same number of subclauses, but something happened. Who can tell me what happened? This time around, I want to hear someone's voice. Please, if you want to talk, please raise up your hand. Just raise your hand if you want to talk. What happened? Something happened. This 9001, 3 subclauses. This is 40,001, 3 subclauses. This is 5,001. It has 4 subclauses. What happened? Who is going to raise up his hand to say something? Who is ready to speak and spark? Anybody?
Yes.
All right, I'm with you, ma.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma.
So why 5 has 4 clauses? Because there is leadership workers' participation.
Okay. Because of workers' participation.
Which environment and quality does not have.
Yes, you are very correct, man. You are very, very correct. If you look at clause 5.1, thank you very much, man. You can mute. Thank you so much for that. If you look at clause 5.1 of quality, you will see leadership and commitment. If you look at 5.1 of occupational health and environmental, you will see leadership and commitment. If you look at clause 5.1 of safety, you will see leadership and commitment. If you look at 5.2, you will see quality policy. 5.2 of 14,001, you will see environmental policy. 5.2 of 4,001, you see policy. Then 5.3, you see the same thing, roles and responsibilities and authorities. But 5.4 is only present in ISO 45001 because it involves the workers. Quality management system talks more about customer satisfaction, meeting up with the requirement of the customers and the client needs, as the case may be. Then environmental management system talks more about the aspect and impact of our operation to the environment. It's addressing the environment most of the time. But occupational health and safety management system is addressing the workers. It's talking about the workers, the safety of the workers. That is why in ISO 5001, you can see leadership and workers' participation as the last. 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, they are the same in the 3 clauses. But because of ISO 45001 needs to address the issue of workers' participation, workers need to be involved. Workers need to be engaged as part of the management system. They need to be part of the system because they are the one that is directly exposed to the hazards. They are the one that are directly affected and has health issues and might be affected by any safety issue. That is why there needs to be consultation and workers' participation. When there is no consultation and workers' participation, definitely you are not talking about occupational health and safety. But if you are addressing occupational health and safety, you need to address clause 5.4. You need to address clause 5.4. Please, if you can hear me loud and clear, please kindly type yes. I can see one of us is saying that I should increase my voice, and I'm practically at the top of my voice. Please, if you can hear me loud and clear, please kindly type yes in the chat room. Thank you very much. Maybe the person should increase the volume of his phone or his laptop. So 5.4, thank you very much for that information. 5.4 talks about consultation and participation of workers. That is why clause 5 talks about leadership and workers' participation. Every other thing is the same, but let me now make it easier for us to understand. When we're talking about clause 5, we're talking about leadership. And we used to say it every time. Leadership must be committed. Leadership must be committed. The management must be committed. The employer must be committed. That is why the first thing that you have is your leadership and commitment. Leadership and commitment comes first as 5.1. But the first thing that they will use to demonstrate their commitment is their policy. That is why 5.2 talks about policy. So when anytime you see 5.1 to be leadership and commitment, you should expect that 5.2 that is coming after it should talk about the policy. That is the statement of their commitment. With that, you will see that it's not about cramming, but it's about understanding how this structure have been developed for us to be able to have an understanding of the process. That is why we use, the other time we used the process approach. The process approach was used in order to understand the plan, the do, the check, and the act. That is why 4, 5, 6 talks about plan. 7 and 8 talks about do. 9 talks about check. And 10 talks about act. We've already explained this earlier. So moving forward, I want to make sure that we finish this in the next 30 minutes. I want to ensure that we'll finish this in the next 30 minutes. So we might increase our speed from 10,000 kilometers per hour to 15,000 kilometers per hour. Please bear with us, fasten your seatbelt, and join us on this wonderful journey. So 5.2 is addressing policy. So For 5001, you're talking about OHS policy. For 9001, you're talking about quality policy. For 14001, you're talking about environmental policy. It's as simple as that. But after they've written their policy, after they talk about their leadership and commitment, there are some people that must be responsible to address, to make sure that the policy is being achieved, to make sure that their objective is being achieved. That is why you now have 5.3 as organizational roles and responsibilities, and organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Even when you look at the creation, in the creation of the world, the creation was not just random. It was from what is being needed from the beginning, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day. It was progressive. One thing must come before the other. So if you want to if you want to build a house, you start from the foundation. From the foundation, you put your bricks. From the bricks, you start laying your blocks. From your blocks, you do your decking or your lintel or whatever they call it. Then gradually you continue building. Then when you are through, you plaster. Then you do internal design. Then you packing. You say that it is progressive. So it's not about cramming. It's about understanding that one comes before the other. That is why if you look at clause 4, it was progressive. Understanding the organization and its in fact, from clause 4, clause 5, clause 6 to clause 10, you see that it was progressive from context then to leadership, because you need to know the context first of what the organization before you now know who are those that will be the leadership, who are the leadership. Then from there, the leadership are the ones that will plan. You can't start planning without having those that will plan. It's not possible. You can't have a building without a foundation. So that is why the context and the leadership comes first. Then you now have your plan. But even after planning, you can't go to operation because you need support to do your operation. That is why support comes first before operation. In your support, if you are building, you'll be talking about your human support, the bricklayers, the engineers. We're talking about the resources, the cement, the bricks, and everything you use for your building. Then you now be talking after that. After you have already, before you start building, you don't just start building. You'll have provided the resources that you need at the point in time before you now start operation. That is why clause 7 comes first before clause 8. Then after that, you now talk about performance and improvement. We have addressed this before. So even in each of the clauses, it's also progressive downward. You need to understand the context first before talking about the needs and expectations. Then before talking about the scope of the management system and the management system itself. So when you look at leadership and worker participation for 2001 and the others, you have just leadership. You see that their leadership and commitments comes as 5.1. Then the policy comes second. Then the management system, then the roles, responsibilities, and authorities comes third. The 5.4 for 2001 now has what? Now has consultation and participation of workers. Please, if you want us to go to clause 6, can somebody say fire on? Can somebody say fire on? If you want us to go to clause 6, tell me to fire on for us to go to clause 6.
Fire.
Let us put it in the chat room so that it will not be rowdy. My guest has told me to fire on. So now let us look at 6. What are you planning? What are you planning? What is your plan? Plan, you're talking about two things, two generic things: risks and opportunities, then your objectives. Risks and opportunities and your objectives. Risks and opportunities and your objectives. You will see that in your standard 45001, that is ISO 45001 and ISO 14001, they have the same number of clauses, but 9001 has an extra one that talk about planning of changes. I would have called somebody to tell us why we have planning of changes, but because of time, we want to make. I'll just go into the reality. When it comes to quality management system, there is always continuous change because they are focused on customer satisfaction. Customers' needs are unlimited. Needs are unlimited. There's always a change in taste. There's always a change in need. It happens in every business. It happens in every organization, in every industry, for every product. There's always a change. So how do you plan for changes? That is why in ISO 9001, there's a clause that specifically addresses planning of changes when there's a particular change. Is it that you want to plan for the taste in your product, or you want to plan the change in packaging, or maybe in that particular industry, there's a change in trend? Let me think of an example. Let's say, for example, let me look at a very simple example to use. I'm trying to look at a very simple example to use. I'm trying to look at a product that changed, and every other product needed to change with them because of the need at that point in time, because of the change in it can be change in technology, it can be change in environment, it can even be change in their own internal management system, it can even be the change in the need of the people. Let me use our phones, for example. I think phone is a very simple one to example. When you look at Nokia, or let me use BlackBerry. Yeah, I think that is a very good example. You will see that BlackBerry, there was a point in time that BlackBerry was at a peak. If you are not using BlackBerry, you are not existing. You must be using BlackBerry for you to be in vogue. You must be using BlackBerry for you to be at the point in time. There's a particular phone that I used then. I forgot the name of that phone. What's the name of that particular phone? The phone was curved like this. It was one of the first phones that has screen that you can type on the screen, and also has this thing, as a pad, as a target. No, it's not Sergeant. I've forgotten the name. Now, part of the thing that happened, even to Nokia, but not BlackBerry, was the fact that there was changes and they did not plan for that change. People were moving from BlackBerry. There was a new product in town, and Android was moving along. iPhone came, and iPhone was creating their own market, and Android also needed to exist in that market. So they were able to set alongside. They are dragging the market space. Those changes usually occur in business, and before you knew it, BlackBerry left the market, left the discussion, left the group chat. Before you know it, Nokia left the group chat. Why? Because Nokia specifically said it. I think their CEO, they said it, that they didn't work on changes. They didn't move with change. So in the business environment, there's always a change. How you change and how you allow your customers or the public to know that you change. You might change the packaging of your product. They must be aware. So changes can occur. So changes can occur in various forms. That is why quality management system specifically addresses the issue of change. Specifically, there are a lot of examples that we can use to talk about change, but because of time, changes actually occur in every product, every services. You need to move on with what is happening in your society, your environment, in the country, in terms of technology and innovations. So changes is very, very important. So how do you plan the changes so that it will not affect the quality of your delivery and it will not affect the needs and expectation of your interested parties, which are where your clause 4.2 comes into play? That is why I do tell people, I do tell my delegates that attend our ISO courses, I tell them that look at the Plan, Do, Check Act, look at the ISO clauses, not as a waterfall, but a fluid process. They all work together. It is not a waterfall that you must do this before you do this. It's a fluid process. Everything works together. You can see how 6.3 changes is being discussed now under needs and expectation of your interested parties. Because if the needs and expectation of your interested parties in 4.2 changes, definitely your planning too must change. You must adjust with the change. That is why 9001 again has 6.3. But apart from that, 6.1 for ISO 9001 talks about actions to address risk. Please help us to add these people in so that I won't leave my slide. Actions to address risks and opportunities. That is what 6.1 talks about. If you look at 6.1 for 2001 too, it talks about action to address risk and opportunities. If you look at 6.1 of 4.012, it talks about what? Action to address risks and opportunities. In planning, you are planning about risks and opportunities, and you are planning about your objective. What do you set for yourself? What is our objectives? What do you want to achieve? What are we planning to do? What your objectives can be based on your lagging indicators or based on your leading indicators. For example, when it comes to health and safety, you can have a plan that you want to improve, want to increase the number of your training by 70%, or you want to increase implementation of an aspect of your management system, maybe implementation of your inspection to 90%. That can be an objective. Your objective can be as much as 50, as much as 100, whatever your objective is. And how do you plan to achieve them? Now, from 6, you now start seeing clause 9.1, talking about monitoring, measurement, and evaluation. You are evaluating how you are meeting up with your what? With your objectives. You can see that it is a fluid process. Please let us switch off our cameras. You can see that it is a fluid process. It is a fluid process. It's not a waterfall. Everything works together. That is why in 6.1, we talk about actions to address risks and opportunities. Then 6.2, you're talking about OH&S objectives and planning to achieve them. What are your objectives? What do you want to achieve as an organization for this particular year? What do you want to achieve? What are your objectives and the plan to achieve them? 6.1 talks about what again? Action to address risk and opportunities. So 6.1 and 6.2, they are the same across the two clauses, except from what? Quality management system that has what? What does quality management system has? Who can tell me what quality management system has? Who can tell me what quality management system has in 6.3 that makes it different from other two clauses? Who can tell me what quality management system has? Who can drop it in the chat room? Who can drop it in the chat room? Okay, I'm with you. Planning for changes. Planning for changes. So we can see planning of changes. That is what is in 9001. That is not present in the other two clauses, in the other two standards. So you can see that there is need for actions to address risks and opportunities. There's always risk and opportunities. I would have loved to go deeper into that, but because of time, we'll just go on. But we need to understand that risk are those things that poses dangers to the business or poses challenges to the organization or to your management system. While opportunities are those aspects that helps you to improve on the system, that makes you to get better on the system. So how do you address every risk and opportunities and your environmental objectives and planning to achieve them? Then in 6.3 for quality, you can see that quality now has planning of changes. Then from there, now let's go to 7. Remember that we said this from the beginning, that 7, 4, 7, 9 are the same. Clause 4, clause 7, clause 9 are the same across the 3 standards. And this is how you will know. For clause 7, it's talking about support. And we have resources, competency, awareness, communication, and documented information. Can somebody type RCACD? Can somebody type RCACD in the chat room? Can somebody type RCACD in the chat room? Can somebody type RCACD in the chat room? Can somebody type RCACD? Let's see RCACD. RCACD. RCACD, not B. RCACD. RCACD. Let us memorize that. RCACD. R stands for resources. C stands for competency. A stands for awareness. C stands for communication. While the last one but not the least, D stands for documented information. RCACD 7.1 talks about your resources. It's part of what you use to support your process. It talks about the resources. 7.2 talks about competency. It's part of what you need as your support. You need to evaluate the competency. You need to know how you recruit those that will help you in your process. That is part of what RCACD does. It helps you to address your resources, human resources, material resources, every form of resources that you need. RCACD talks about competence, the competency of those that will do the job, the competency of your workers, the competency of your employees, of your quality manager, quality officer. How do you recruit? How do you improve on their competency? What processes do you have in place for their competency? What is the process for getting those competencies? Then your A talks about awareness. How do you create the awareness? Your awareness can be internal, it can be external, depending on your interested parties, and depending on the scope of what you are talking about. So your awareness is also very important. Then communication. How do you communicate across the stakeholders? How do you communicate across everyone? Then last one, talk about documented information. Documented information. How do you ensure that there is there's proper procedure for documentation when a document has been updated or reviewed? How do you ensure that such document is not being returned to is not being used mistakenly? How do you ensure information security? They have their own subclauses, but just give you an idea of what it means. RCACD, resources, competency, awareness, communication, documented information. That is what clause 7 talks about. Then let's go to clause 8. If you want me to go to clause 8, please kindly type yes. Kindly type yes if you want me to go to clause 8. If you want us to go to clause 8, clause 8 is where ISO 9001 had a lot of work. Clause 8 in ISO 9001. Clause 8 in ISO 9001. Clause 8 in ISO 9001 is very much. Clause 8 in ISO 9001 is very much. Clause 8 in ISO 9001 is, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 subclauses. Operations in ISO, please let us stay muted. Operations in ISO 9001 has a lot of subclauses. If you look at 14001 and 5001, they are similar. They are addressing planning and control, and they are addressing emergency response. Please, who is this person? So that we won't disturb the class. We need to finish as soon as possible. We are almost up to 2 hours now. We are going to close to 2 hours now on this session. So now, if you look at 14,001 and 45001, in clause 8.1, it talks about operational planning and control. Operational planning and control. Now in operation, in clause 8, you are now doing the do. You are now doing what you have planned to do. Operational planning, your operation, how you carry out your operation, and control. Operational planning and control. Operational planning and control. That is where we talk about operations. That is where we talk about operations. 8.1. Then 8.2 now talks about emergency preparedness and response. Emergency preparedness and response. Then if you look at our 9001, it also has operational planning as control as 8.1. Then 8.2, determination of market needs, operational planning process, control of external provision of goods and services, development of goods and services, production of goods and preservation of services, release of goods and services, non-conforming goods and services. We would have loved to go into this, but because of time, We might not have the time to go deeper, but let us have it in mind. Our focus for this particular session is to understand how these clauses relate to themselves. So when you look at, when it comes to operations, operation in 14001 and 4001 is similar. 8.1 talks about operational planning and control, while 8.2 talks about emergency preparedness and response. How do you respond to emergency? When there is a release, when there's a release of a toxic substances to the environment, what are the emergency response preparedness plan? What tool do you use to identify the various forms of emergency situation that could happen? Maybe you use your event tree analysis. Maybe you use your event tree analysis to analyze the various possible release that could affect, that would happen on your process. And you now create a line of defense, line of LOD, or layer of protection. You now create them in place. You now create them in place in order to ensure that there is no release to the environment or it is not being escalated. How do you ensure, how do you prepare for emergency situations? What do you use? How do you make it happen? That is part of what you do in your operations. Emergency preparedness, your drills, how do you do them? How do you ensure that you carry out enough drills to prepare your workers? In the terms of design of your process, is there inclusion of emergency preparedness and response? In your equipment, is there an emergency button that anybody that they are being trained, are they being trained to carry that out? You see that under that now, we'll now be going to clause 7. So when you are carrying out audits and you are looking at a particular clause, you can't just be blindfolded to that clause. That's how we say that it is a fluid process. For example, you're talking about emergency preparedness and response. You can now start, you can go back to objective. If there's an objective that talks about increasing the number of drills that you do, number of drills that you do in a year, maybe you plan to do 20 drills. So you now look at, when you are auditing, you now go to the operations, you now go to the planning, the number of emergency drills that they want to do and how they want to do them. Maybe in a month, they'll be doing 2. And then you now go to your check, that is monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. How they measure it. Do they have a data analysis? Do they have a dashboard? Do they have a record that they use to monitor how well they are implementing what they said they will implement? Then now, even under emergency response, you can now go to competence to go and see, are those people that are involved in the drills, are they competent enough? Are the workers aware? Are the workers trained on drills? You can see how it is a fluid process. Even communication too. You can also under communication, you can also look at it. Our workers communicated too about the drills. All these things, you can see that they are fluid process. It's not a waterfall. All these things they work with each other. So as an auditor, you need to have an eagle-eyed view. You need to have an eagle-eyed view to look at the process and to look at what they do. You don't necessarily spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 1 day on a particular clause or on a particular sub-clauses. Having an eagle-eyed view will make you to understand their process and see how best you can help them to improve on their process. Remember, as an auditor, you are not there to police. You are not there to look for issues. You are there to look for ways to improve on the system. You are there to work with them as a team. You are there to work with them as a team. Not to be partial, no. But when you raise non-conformity, when you raise about observations, the reason why you are raising them is to help improve on the process, because we need to meet up with the market demand. We need to meet up with the customer satisfaction. We need to ensure that we conform to that standard for us to get our certification. So because of that mindset, you are helping them to improve on the system. You are not a police. You are not a soldier. They want to be raising non-conformity, they want to be sanctioning everybody. No, you are there to support the system. So under clause 8, we're talking about 8.1, we're talking about operational controls and operational planning and control. Then 8.2, we're talking about emergency preparedness and response. That is for 1001 and 4001. Therefore, 9001, it has 8 subclauses. You can take your time to go through these 8 subclauses. They are all embedded in the other, even in the other ones that we're talking about. Because we are talking about getting from the stage that your product is being produced to the stage that it gets to the final customer. to the stage that it gets to the final user, to the final customer, there's a process, and there are ways that you can get your feedback. And when they are not conforming goods, you need to know how to address it. Let me give you an example. There was a time that, though I did come across it, I didn't buy it. There was a time that they said they imported what do you call it? Petrol that was contaminated. Yes, they imported, they brought in contaminated petrol. How did it leave from that place where it was being produced till it got down here? What were those areas that was lacking? So if that should happen in your organization, how did they get to that end point, and how did they address it? Remember, there was time that they were saying that Indomie was killing people. Indomie was killing people. Those were issues those were issues that are similar to emergencies that needed to be addressed. Then I think the MD or the manager actually went publicly to the market, just open publicly, and look out for anybody that was selling Indomie and picked it and was eating it publicly. I tell them it's not going to die. You can see that he picked it random from somebody. He didn't plan with them that they should please, Indomie is not killing. They had to devise a means to gain the interest of the masses again. Those ones is part of what you do, what you are planned for, or what you can do under operations. So under operations, you are looking at so many things that could happen, so many things that you say you will do, doing them, and if something should go wrong, how do you address them? How do you control external provision? How do you control development of goods and services? External provision can be, when we're talking about subcontractors, no company, or don't let me say no company, but most manufacturing companies does not produce everything they use. They don't produce everything they use. They have some aspects that are being subcontracted. For example, most of their packaging, there are companies that are into packaging that then they produce them. Even when you look at Coca-Cola, for example, Coca-Cola is not producing, I don't think Coca-Cola is producing its bottle by itself. The bottle is being blown inside. It's being blown at the Coca-Cola plant. But when it comes to the plastic itself, they buy it from other companies. So even those companies, they need to control external provision. Is what they are bringing to us, because the quality of our product depends on what they bring. What they are bringing to us, is it continuously meeting with our requirement? Coca-Cola will look at the shape of their bottle. They will look at the taste. They will look at the sound, the color, every sense organ, every sensory part of the code that makes Coke to be Coke. They will audit. They will look at it and make sure that there is no non-conformity. The level at which the drink will be the same across. And if they are not conformity, there is a way they reduce defect and they reduce defectives and defects. I don't want to go into those aspects, but what we are saying here is that there is a process, even when they have external companies, external subcontractors, that their operations or their processes or their production depends on them, then there is a process that they must use to control external provision to ensure that there is timely delivery, and what they are delivering is of high quality that meets up with their own requirements, so that what they are bringing in will not affect their own product and will not affect their own customer end. Because I don't think anybody's after the plastic company, the company that is producing plastic for Coca-Cola. I don't think anybody will be after that. What they are after is to get a good Coke that stands. There are sometimes that you buy some table water and you put them on the table, they will be shaking. They won't stand. Why? Because of quality issue. So that is why quality management system has so many sub-clauses that address so many parts. And that is what I can say for now when it comes to quality management system. If you want me to fire on, please kindly say fire on, so that I will go to the next two. If you want me to fire on, please kindly say fire on, so that I will go to the next two. Nobody wants me to fire on.
Please, Wali, please explain the area of the risks and opportunities.
Please, when we get to the question and answer session, we'll go back to that. We want to ensure that we finish this class. It's almost 5 o'clock. When it's question and answer session, we'll go back to any question that we have. And also, this video is being recorded. So if there's anything that is missing, we can always get it there. But after the session, we will explain what risk and opportunity is all about. I hope that is fine.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Now let's go to performance evaluation. Like we said earlier, there are 3 clauses that are the same. Who can remind us? Who can remind us of the 3 clauses that are the same? Who can remind us of the 3 clauses that are the same?
4, 7, and 9.
Please, let's put in the chat room. Who can remind us of the 3 clauses that are the same? Who can remind us of the 3 clauses that are the same? I need somebody to tell us. 479, 479. Thank you. Clause 4 is context of the organization. Clause 7 is support. Clause 9 is performance evaluation. Remember that this is for 9001, 14001, and 5001. Wally did not say that all the clauses, all the standards, that they are the same. I'm making reference to these 3 ISO standards. Now, performance evaluation 2 is same. Why? 9.1 talks about monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. Monitoring, what you are monitoring, you are measuring it. You are monitoring your process. You are monitoring, you are improving. Then what you are monitoring, you are measuring to have a statistical analysis of how you are improving on the system. What you are measuring, what you are monitoring, you are measuring. If you can't measure what you are not monitoring, you can only monitor, you can only measure when you are monitoring. So monitoring is very important. Monitoring, measurement, analysis. After you've measured, then you now start analyzing your data. Because when you are measuring, you'll have gotten a lot of data. Then after analyzing, then you now evaluate. Analyzing, that's okay. This is the outcome of what we have we have measured for the past 6 months. This is what we have done. Then you now evaluate it to see what are those areas for improvement. That is where clause 10 comes into play. 9.1 talks about monitoring, measuring, analysis, and evaluation. While 9.2 talks about internal audit. Internal audit. The 9.3 talks about management review. And that is the same for 9001, 14001, and 45001. 9001 talks about monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. 9.2 talks about internal audit. The 9.3 talks about management review. The management review is very, very important when it comes to management standard. You can't do without it. It is a major part of ISO requirements. There needs to be management review, because that will tell us that yes, your 5.1, when you talk about leadership and commitment, you're actually committing yourself to your leadership. You're actually committing yourself to the management system. So management review 9.3 is very, very important. 9.2 talks about internal audit, very, very important. And 9.1 talks about monitoring, measurement, and performance evaluation. Then the last one, but not the least, improvement. Improvement. When you look at improvement, you see that under 9001, it is 2 subclauses. And under the remaining 2, 40,001 and 5,001, it is 3 and it is 3. It is 3 clauses. The first 2 are the same. The 3 are the same for 14,001 and 4,001, because you are having 10.1 talking about the general, the 10.2 talking about non-conformity and corrective action, the 10.3 talking about continuous improvement, and same thing applies to 4,001. Then when you look at 9001, the general part is not there. The general part is not there. It just has non-conformity and corrective action, and then 10.2 talks about improvement. And if you look at this, you see that most times 14,001 and 5,001 are almost similar. For example, when you look at when you're talking about planning, they were similar. 6.1 and 6.2, they were similar. They were brothers. When it comes to 8.1 and 8.22, they were similar in clause 8. In clause 6, in clause 8, in clause 10, they were similar. That is, they are brothers. 40,001 and 40,001, they are brothers. They are similar. If you look at it again, like I'm saying, planning 6.1 and 6.2 in 40,001. In 40,001 too, is the same thing. If you look at 8, clause 8, operations 2, it's the same thing. If you look at clause 10 too, it is the same thing. So it tells you how fluid these processes, how it is easy to integrate, and how the process can be integrated together. And at the end of the day, you will have an integrated management system. And this is where, when it comes to understanding this subclass, understanding these clauses and its subclasses, this is where we are going to stop for now. So at the end of the day, you will see that we have these clauses, starting from clause 4 to clause 10. They are present in all the clauses, and they are a fluid process, and they can be integrated because they have similar subclauses, and that makes the work much more easier. Instead of duplicating your effort, instead of disturbing yourself to have separate management system that you can integrate together, it makes the job easier when you integrate. It reduces the need for excess documentation, and when there are conflict of interest, it makes you to get to, when there are issues of interest of when there are issues of conflict of interest, you'll be able to identify it as soon as possible and put control measures in place. Then this particular clause, I wish we had more time. This particular aspect, this particular slide, now identifies the areas where the clauses are similar. You can go to your standard. You can go to your standard and look at them. You can see them online. You can download them online, and you will see when you download them, you will see these similarities. If you look at the center, those ones at the center tell you that they are all in all the clauses. They are in all clauses. They are in all clauses. It shows you that particular fact that they are in what? In all the clauses. When you look at clause 4.1.2, 4.3, we told you that 4, 7, and 9 are similar. So 4, 7, 9, they are similar. When you look at this particular place, this particular slide, it is telling us those areas where they are similar. These people trying to join are disturbing me. Okay. This slide tells you those parts, those areas that are similar. And specifically on each of those standards, those areas that are specifically different is being identified from each of those clauses. If you look at the green part that talks about 14,001, you see that plus 6.1.2, so plus 6.1.3, plus 6.1.4 is different. It's specifically applicable to 14,001. The same thing has been identified for clause. The same thing has been identified for clause ISO 4001, and the same thing has been identified for ISO 9001. So these differences are being separated. Why those are similar, that are the same, is at the center, which tells you that if you are doing an integrated management system, a bulk of these clauses and subclauses are the same. You just need to apply their own specific areas to them. So that you can have a single management system that is called integrated management system that addresses the 3 standards, as the case may be. At the end of the day, you will see that having an understanding of these 3 standards, because these are the most generic standard that we have. That as 9001 that talks about project management system, as 40,001 that talks about 1,000 system, and as 40,001 that talks about environmental management system, and ISO 45701 that talks about operational health and safety management system. If you are able to understand these 3 clauses, their similarities, their differences, you see that your auditing processes and other skills that you need as an auditor, because it's not only limited to this, you see that at the end of the day, you'll be able to apply this expertise, this knowledge to ease your audit process and be able to scrutinize through the process of your auditing swiftly, fastly, without stress, and getting the main aim, that is to improve on the system, on the organization. And I believe that together we can only get better. We are improving ourselves. We are professionals. I believe that there are so many people here that knows more than I do. In fact, almost most of the people that are here know more than I do. But together we can always get better. We can always improve on ourselves, and we can always get better at every point in time. And that is where we are going to end it today. That is all we have for us today. We hope we've been able to have value. We hope we've been able to improve on our competency level. before we go to question and answer session, let's quickly tell us this. We've been having our series of training for the past, let's say 3 weeks. The first week of this month, we had ISO 45001, ISO lead auditor training. 120,000 naira was the amount paid for that particular training. And our training, as we've been saying many times, we are accredited training providers with QMSAI, that is Quality and Management System Auditor Institute. Those are our organization, just like we have the likes of IACA in UK, we have PCB that was established in Canada. This is specifically established in Africa, Nigeria to be specific. But as all those ones were established in their various countries, that is how this is also established in our own country too. But they also are registered as an organization that is into certification, ISO certifications. And based on the requirement that makes an organization to be a certification body is basically their conformance to ISO 2024, which QMSAI actually conforms to. So if you have any further questions about QMSAI, you can as well ask us this question. Our first training was in the first week of January of this month and was successful 100%. We had just finished one on Friday on the integrated management system, and we also had delegates that attended. So this is coming next week, not this coming Monday, but the coming next week for ISO 9001, and it's for 120,000 naira only. These are the training for this batch. The last one will be coming for environmental management system. Will be coming up in September 11th to 15th. So if you are interested, you can chat me up as soon as possible. Apart from ISO training, we are also into management trainings, management of mental well-being, active listening, effective communication, management of hostility and violence in the workplace. Thank you, Mr. Mudiri. I also join very soon. That's why I'm also rushing this class. Inclusive leadership and management, emotional intelligence in the workplace, conflict management and resolution. So these are our management trainings. Apart from that, we also have technical trainings. I didn't have that. We have technical trainings that we also offer. I think it's at the end of the slide. Asset investigation, digital job data analysis. We have a lot of feedback on our training. They're not just training to just talk. They are training that has impact. We have people that have attended our courses and they see impact in those courses. And the lucky thing is that we have it pre-recorded. So in case you are interested in any of our pre-recording, you can as well reach out to us. When it comes to auditing, there's this very beautiful quote: putting your ego aside and confronting your weakness and just letting things happen is hard. Not to use a Scientology term, but it is difficult to do an emotional or an artistic audit. As difficult as it may be to carry out an audit, it is very good. It's very important that when we go through these processes that we just took us through, in order to have an ISO standard, ISO that has similar clauses and makes your auditing process easier. It will make your auditing much easier than what anyone actually expects. And this is where we are taking off. This is where we are landing. Everyone can relax now, and we can ask our question about QMSAI. This slide that we use is specifically owned by QMSAI, Quality and Management System Auditor Institute. This is one of the first established institutes for ISO certification that we have in Africa. So if you have any question now, please let us ask our question. Thank you, and God bless you. So I had one question earlier. Before we go to the other questions, I had one question earlier. Was asking about risk and opportunity. We're talking about risk. Like I said, it's something unplanned that can happen that could have a negative impact in an organization. While opportunities are things that could have positive impact in an organization. Opportunities are areas of improvement, areas to exploit that could have positive impact on the organization. For example, your employees, your competent workers, they are your areas of opportunities. They are your areas for improvement. They are your opportunities that you can use to improve on your management system. Your resources, they are your opportunities. Risks are those things that could cause harm, that could have a negative impact on your organization. So you must have a plan to address the various risks that could happen. At the same time, you must have a plan for all your areas of opportunity or your areas of improvement. That is your opportunities. When an opportunity comes in, you click into it and you make use of it judiciously. So you must have a plan to address risk and opportunities. So that when opportunity comes, you don't allow it to just don't allow it to slide. So you must also prepare for opportunities. Even in our individual lives, you must prepare for opportunities. So that is basically what it is talking about. Plans to address risk that could happen, that could cause serious dangers, serious challenges to an organization, and opportunities that will be areas of improvement that we can actually tap and work on. When there's an improvement, for example, when there's an improvement in technology, when there's an improvement in maybe, how do I even put it? When there is something that could lead to increase in production, you tap into it. In recent times, we are talking about AI. So many organizations are now tapping into AI. That was an area for opportunity. So ability to tap into every opportunity, you must have a plan ahead that when an opportunity comes, these are the people that will tap into it. There are areas of brainstorming. Organizations should have time for brainstorming, have time for discussion, have time for deliberation, to discuss with the workers. Ideas can come up. Those ideas that come up can be an area of opportunity to improve on the system. When you have meetings with your workers, for example, under your clause 5.4 in your operational and safety management system, clause 5.4 that talks about workers' participation, for example. Worker participation can be meeting, can be OHS meetings, can be two bus stop. Worker participation can be in any form. It can be suggestion box. So those aspects that you are doing with participation, you can see something that will lead to area for improvement. So you can see that it's a fluid process. So area for improvement are talking about areas that could help you to improve on your organization. I hope that answers the question, sir. The person that asked the question, is the person there? All right, Mr. Someone raised up his hand the other time. Please kindly unmute, sir. Mr. Shamsuddin Alade.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for such an opportunity. And between ISO 9001, 45001, 4001. So my question is, what's the difference between a QHSC role and a QA/QC role when it comes to ISO 9000 and ISO 4001?
The role of QHSC.
Yes, QHSC
is
QC, yes.
Quality control and quality analysis.
Environment and quality assurance, quality control. So that's the question. What's the difference when it comes to these three standards?
Now, when it comes to ISO, when it comes to our profession, QA/QC, like we call it quality analysis and quality control, it can be in any profession. Maybe for civil, they have QA/QC. For food processing, they have QA/QC. For oil and gas, they have their QA/QC. So it's a broad term that has to do with various organizations, or what can I say, various industries. But basically, when it comes to ISO standard, QA/QC is only focused on the quality aspect, and it's one aspect of the ISO standard when we're talking about quality control and quality analysis. So when you're talking about quality assurance, thank you. Quality assurance and quality control. Thank you for that reminder. So when it comes to QAQC, it is focused on quality aspect only, and it's majorly under QMS, quality management system. But for QHSC, is it for you to call yourself QHSC professional? Most of us we call ourselves that name: quality, health, safety, and management. And it's because we believe that we have understanding of what quality is about. So when it comes to ISO standard, like we have an integrated system, it means that you have been able to have an idea of quality management system, have an idea of environmental management system, and have an idea of health and safety management system. That is basically what it means. But when it comes to quality assurance and quality control, it means that the person is addressing a particular aspect of quality management system. The quality management system, when it comes to ISO, is very wide. So for quality assurance, the person is basically, am I still here? Okay, I think I'm still here. For quality assurance is basically the person is trying to monitor and follow the quality plans that the company that is working with is working with. You know, there's always a quality plan. Just like we have our HSE plan, we have our, what's it called? Environmental plan, management plan. So there's also a quality plan in every organization. So as a quality assurance and quality control person, the person is trying to ensure that what they are planning is being implemented and is within the range of what they said they will be doing. For example, if, let's say in the civil industry, for their concrete, they used to have a kind of quality control that they do based on the strength of the concrete and the mixing proportion and the likes. Those ones are under quality control. Now, that quality control is one aspect of the overall quality management system. So a QHS professional should be seen more than the QAQC, because the QAQC is addressing an aspect of quality, while a QHS professional is addressing quality management system from the beginning to the end, environmental management system, and the safety health and safety management system. Does that answer your question, sir? Mr. Shamsuddin, you can unmute, sir.
Okay. So yes, that's the view I have. So, but because why I asked this question, I believe that for QHSC, it's when they integrate the role of a QAQC and the role of a HSC officer. Then just like an organization that don't have a separate quality department and a separate HSC department, when they have a QHSC department, that means is an integrated. And I know to an extent, yes, I think to an extent, they do almost all the QHSC do almost all the, let me rate it to 80 to 85% of the QAQC role, even though if it's not 100%. But I don't know if it comes to an issue that can a QHSC officer now fully go for a QAQC role, because I believe the QAQC is enveloped in both QAQC and HSC is enveloped in the QHSC role. That is the combination of the two. Because the major organization that don't have a separate quality department has a QHSC department that takes care of the quality itself, the QAQC and the QHSC. Though basically the QAQC is to measure the process, while the QHSC is both to measure the process, to improve the process, like everything that combines, like everything that is made up of because of the combination of the Q and the HSC. I don't know, because I'm having that complications in my head. So that's why I asked this question.
All right. Do you have anyone that could help us to address that? Do you have anyone that can help us to address that?
Okay, good evening. Wale, can you hear me?
Good evening, sir. With you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me just throw some light if this will help clarify what the young man is asking. like I put it on the chat box, this cannot apply in all industries. For you to integrate the role of the quality department and the health and safety. I'll give you a typical example. If you have a company that provides, let's say, HR services or training services, they can decide to do to have QHSC officer or manager, because it's very easy for you to integrate ISO 45001, 14001, and 9001. You understand? But when you now come to some industry like the food industry, for instance, and it becomes difficult for you to, merge the two departments together, because at that point in time, being a food industry, they have a standard specific requirement, which is FSSC 22000. So that makes it difficult for you to now, even though they have the same Annex XL, but it goes deeper and, diverts more into specific requirement, which somebody that is trying to manage these other three standards will, find it difficult. So you get distracted, let me put it that way, because you won't be able to effectively manage the three standards. That is, if you have this one together,